Let me tell you a story about a man who almost had it all, a prince who had access to all women but still couldn't find love, and a queen who is having a secret affair with a villager.
Once upon a time, in the grand kingdom of Valoria, there lived a handsome prince named Adrian. Adrian had everything a man could dream of: wealth, power, and a palace filled with every luxury imaginable. But despite his riches, his heart was heavy with loneliness. He yearned for a love that was real, pure, and untainted by his royal status. Many women had come to court him, but he always felt they were more enchanted by his crown than his soul. One evening, as he stood on the palace balcony overlooking his kingdom, Adrian made a bold decision. He would leave behind his princely life and disguise himself as a commoner. Only then could he find someone who loved him for who he truly was, not for his title or wealth. The very next day, he dressed in simple, worn clothes, packed a small bag, and slipped out of the palace gates under the cover of night. Adrian arrived in the bustling city of Crownsworth, a place alive with the sounds of merchants, street performers, and chatter from every corner. The streets were crowded, and the air smelled of roasted chestnuts and fresh bread. For the first time, he felt free but also uncertain. He had no servants to attend to him, no soft bed to sleep in, and no grand feasts waiting for him. But Adrian was determined. He found a small room to rent above a baker's shop and started working odd jobs to sustain himself. Among the people in Crownsworth, Adrian was just another man trying to make ends meet. The simplicity of life was both challenging and refreshing. As the days turned into weeks, Adrian began to understand the struggles of ordinary people. In his quest for true love, Adrian met many women. First, there was Lila, a seamstress who seemed sweet and caring. But as they spent more time together, Adrian realized Lila only saw him as a way to escape her hardships. When she learned he had little to offer financially, her interest in him quickly faded. Then there was Clara, a lively barmaid who loved his company. Adrian thought he had found someone genuine until he overheard her telling her friends that she only kept him around because he was amusing and handsome. Heartbroken, Adrian moved on, determined to keep searching. Days turned into months, and Adrian's hope began to waver. The loneliness he had hoped to escape weighed on him more than ever. One day, while he was sitting at a quiet corner of the market, a man named Hope approached him. Hope was a burly man with sharp eyes and a booming laugh. He worked as a market enforcer, keeping order among the vendors. "You look lost," Hope said, sitting beside Adrian. "What's your story, stranger?" Adrian hesitated, but decided to share part of his truth. "I came here looking for love," he admitted. "Someone who sees me for who I am, not what I have." Hope chuckled. "Love? In this city? You'll find none of that here, my friend. People here don't have time for fairy tales. They're looking for survival." Despite Hope's cynical words, Adrian felt an odd sense of camaraderie with the man. Hope began to introduce Adrian to people around the market, but his motives were far from pure. He took advantage of Adrian's naivety, sending him on errands and tasks for his own benefit. When Adrian finally realized he was being used, he confronted Hope. "Why would you treat me this way?" Adrian asked, his voice filled with hurt. Hope laughed cruelly. "Because you're just another desperate fool. You think love will save you? Look at you, penniless and pathetic. No one will choose a beggar over a better life." Hope's words cut deep, but they also steeled Adrian's resolve. He would not give up on his search for love, even if it meant facing more disappointment. One afternoon, while helping unload crates at the market, Adrian's eyes fell on a young woman selling flowers. She had a radiant smile and hair that shone like the sun. Her name was Alara. She wasn't dressed in fine clothes, but there was a grace about her that captivated Adrian. Drawn to her warmth, he began buying a small flower from her stall every day. At first, Alara was wary of the quiet man with kind eyes, but over time, they began to talk. Adrian learned that Alara was not just beautiful, but also strong. She had lost her parents at a young age and worked tirelessly to support her younger brother. Despite her hardships, she was full of hope and had dreams of opening her own flower shop one day. Her resilience and kindness touched Adrian deeply. He admired her spirit and felt his heart slowly opening to her. As the weeks went by, their bond grew. They shared laughter, stories, and moments of quiet understanding. Adrian found himself falling in love with Alara, and for the first time, he felt truly seen. Alara, too, began to see Adrian as someone special. She loved his humility and the way he listened to her dreams, as if they were the most important thing in the world. One evening, under the soft glow of lanterns, Adrian finally confessed his feelings. "Alara," he said, taking her hand gently, "you have shown me a kind of love I never knew existed. I want to be by your side, through all the joys and hardships. Will you give me the honor of loving you?" Tears filled Alara's eyes as she smiled. "Adrian, you've been my light in the darkness." "Yes, I will." Their love blossomed, and Adrian felt he had finally found what he had been searching for. But as their relationship deepened, Adrian began to worry. He hadn't told Alara the truth about his identity. Each day, the secret weighed heavier on his heart. He feared that revealing his true self might shatter the trust they had built. One fateful day, Adrian's secret was accidentally uncovered. A royal advisor, sent to find the missing prince, spotted Adrian in the market. The advisor called him by his royal title, and Alara, standing nearby, heard everything. She turned to Adrian, her face a mix of confusion and betrayal. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Are you a prince?" Adrian's heart sank. "Alara, I can explain," he said, stepping closer. "I didn't want you to love me for my title. I wanted you to love me for who I am." But Alara's eyes filled with tears. "And yet, you lied to me. How can I trust anything you've said?" Without waiting for an answer, she turned and walked away, leaving Adrian standing alone in the bustling street. For days, Adrian tried to reach out to her, but Alara avoided him. Her heart was broken. She loved Adrian, but the betrayal cut deep. She couldn't reconcile the man she had fallen for with the prince who had hidden such a big part of his life from her. Adrian returned to the palace, his heart heavier than ever. The grand halls and luxurious chambers felt empty without Alara. He tried to focus on his royal duties, but his thoughts always drifted back to her. He realized that if he truly loved her, he needed to make amends, no matter the cost. Weeks later, during the annual spring festival in Crown Worth, Adrian made his move. He appeared at the marketplace, not as a prince, but as the humble man Alara had fallen in love with. Standing before her flower stall, he held a single white rose. "Alara," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "I know I hurt you, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. I lied because I was afraid of losing you. But now I see that hiding the truth only pushed you away. I love you, not as a prince, but as Adrian, the man who admires your strength, your kindness, and your dreams." The crowd around them fell silent, watching the heartfelt scene unfold. Alara looked at Adrian, her eyes searching his face for sincerity. After what felt like an eternity, she spoke. "Adrian, you broke my trust," she said softly. "But you've also shown me your heart. I can't deny that I still love you." Tears streamed down Adrian's face as he held out the rose. "Then let me spend the rest of my life earning back your trust. Please, Alara." Alara took the rose, her lips curving into a small, hesitant smile. "Love isn't perfect, Adrian, but I believe in second chances." Adrian and Alara's reunion was a joyous moment, but their love would soon face a new challenge. When Adrian brought Alara to the palace to introduce her to his parents, King Alden and Queen Seraphina, their reception was far from warm. The grandeur of the palace was overwhelming for Alara. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and ornate tapestries adorned the walls. But as Alara stood before the king and queen, dressed modestly and holding her head high, she felt out of place. King Alden, a stern man with piercing blue eyes, scrutinized her with a frown. Queen Seraphina, ever elegant and poised, offered a polite but distant smile. "Father, mother," Adrian began, holding Alara's hand. "This is Alara, the woman I love. She is the one I wish to marry." The queen's smile faltered, and the king's frown deepened. There was a heavy silence before King Alden finally spoke. Adrian, we understand that you've been on a journey of self-discovery. But this... He gestured toward Alara dismissively. This is not what we expected. Adrian's jaw tightened. What do you mean? You are a prince, the king said firmly. Your choice of partner is not just a personal matter. It is a matter of the kingdom. A flower seller? She has no lineage, no status, no place in this court. Alara felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment, but before she could speak, Adrian stepped forward, his voice unwavering. Alara has everything that matters. She has kindness, strength, and integrity, qualities far more important than status or wealth. Queen Seraphina's tone was soft but cutting. Adrian, love is not enough to sustain a union in the royal family. A queen must command respect, represent the kingdom with dignity, and understand the demands of court life. How could this girl possibly fulfill such expectations? Alara felt the sting of their words, but remained silent, not wanting to cause a scene. Adrian, however, was not willing to back down. Mother, father, he said, his voice rising slightly. I didn't choose Alara because of her wealth or status. I chose her because she sees me for who I am, not for what I have. Isn't that the kind of love you would want for your son? The king's expression hardened. Adrian, you are the crown prince. Your first duty is to your people and the legacy of this kingdom. If you marry her, it will bring disgrace to our family and instability to the court. Adrian's fists clenched at his sides. If the legacy of this kingdom is built on arrogance and superficiality, then perhaps it's time for change. Queen Seraphina's calm demeanor gave way to an icy resolve as she stood from her gilded chair, her imposing figure casting a long shadow across the grand hall. Enough, Adrian, she said, her voice cold and authoritative. This charade has gone far enough. This girl, she said, gesturing toward Alara with disdain, has no place in this palace, and certainly no place by your side. You may have been infatuated with her simplicity, but such distractions have no room in matters of the crown. Mother, stop! Adrian's voice was sharp, his protective instincts flaring as he stepped in front of Alara. You have no right to dismiss her so cruelly. But Queen Seraphina was unmoved. She turned to the guards stationed at the edges of the room. Guards, remove her at once. She does not belong here. And until further notice, she is not to set foot in this palace again. The room fell deathly silent. Alara's heart raced as the guards moved toward her, their boots echoing ominously on the marble floor. She felt Adrian grip her hand tightly, his own body tense with anger. No, Adrian said firmly, his voice carrying the authority of a future king. You will not lay a hand on her. The guards hesitated, glancing between the prince and the queen. The room bristled with tension as Adrian squared his shoulders, his gaze locked on his mother. Adrian, Queen Seraphina said sharply, do not defy me. I am acting in the best interests of this kingdom, and I am protecting the woman I love. Adrian shot back, his voice echoing in the vast hall. If you think you can separate us with brute force, you underestimate us both. King Alden, who had been silent throughout the heated exchange, finally stood. His deep voice cut through the tension like a blade. Enough, he bellowed, his tone brooking no argument. He turned to his wife, his expression a mixture of sternness and weariness. Seraphina, ordering the arrest of an innocent woman is not only beneath you, but also unbecoming of a queen. Do not let your pride blind you to the consequences of your actions. Queen Seraphina's calm facade cracked, and fury blazed in her eyes as she turned sharply toward King Alden. Alden, you may rule this kingdom alongside me, but do not undermine my authority in my own court. Her voice trembled with a cold fury that sent a chill through the grand hall. She turned back to the guards, her commanding tone like steel. I gave you an order. Arrest her now and throw her into the dungeons. Let her rot in darkness until this foolishness ends. The guards hesitated again, their loyalty torn between the queen's wrath and the prince's defiance. Mother, stop this madness. Adrian's voice was filled with both desperation and anger. He stepped in front of Alara, his arms spread wide as if shielding her from an unseen blow. This isn't the justice or dignity You always taught me to uphold." But Seraphina was unmoved, her expression cold as ice. "You speak of dignity, Adrian, yet you defile the crown with this ill-advised infatuation. Love is not enough to bind a kingdom. She is a threat to our legacy, and I will not allow her to disgrace this family." Adrian turned to the guards, his voice trembling with rage. "You will not touch her. As your future king, I command you to stand down." The room was electric with tension as the guards exchanged nervous glances. But Queen Seraphina, sensing their hesitation, raised her voice in a thunderous command. "Disobey me, and you disobey the crown. Arrest her." This time, the guards moved forward, their hesitation replaced by duty to the queen. Alara, who had been silent, finally spoke, her voice calm but steady. "Adrian, it's all right." He turned to her, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Alara, no." She placed a gentle hand on his arm, her gaze steady. "I won't let you sacrifice everything for me. If this is what it takes for them to see who I truly am, then so be it." Before Adrian could protest further, the guards reached her. She didn't resist as they clasped her wrists with cold, iron shackles. Adrian's heart broke at the sight, and he lunged forward, but two more guards held him back. "You'll regret this, mother," Adrian growled, his voice raw with pain. "I swear on everything I hold dear, you will regret this cruelty." Queen Seraphina's expression remained unyielding. "You'll thank me one day, Adrian, when you see the chaos I've prevented." As Alara was led away, her head held high despite the chains, Adrian's voice echoed through the hall. "I'll get her out of there. No walls or chains will keep us apart." Alara glanced over her shoulder, her eyes meeting his. "Stay strong, Adrian. We'll find a way." The doors to the grand hall closed behind her, and Adrian was left standing in stunned silence, his fists clenched and his heart burning with a mix of grief and fury. In the cold, damp confines of the palace dungeons, Alara sat on a rough stone bench, her wrists sore from the iron shackles. Darkness enveloped the space, broken only by a small shaft of light from a tiny window high above. Despite the gloom, her spirit remained unbroken. She thought of Adrian and the fire in his eyes as he stood up for her. She thought of the love they shared and the trials they had already faced together. She would not let this defeat her. Meanwhile, Adrian paced furiously in his chambers, devising a plan. If his mother thought she could keep them apart with walls and chains, she was sorely mistaken. He would find a way to free Alara, even if it meant defying the crown and leaving the palace forever. Unbeknownst to both of them, their love was about to set off a chain of events that would shake the kingdom of Valoria to its core and reveal long-buried secrets that would change their lives forever. Here's the continuation of the story with a shocking twist. Adrian barely slept that night. His mind raced with plans, desperate ideas, and a burning determination to free Alara. He couldn't bear the thought of her suffering in the cold, damp dungeons, and he resolved to act. Meanwhile, Queen Seraphina retired to her private chambers, her exterior of icy control beginning to crack. Alone, she paced the opulent room, her thoughts swirling. This defiance from Adrian was unlike anything she had ever encountered, and it threatened to unravel everything she had worked so hard to build. It wasn't just about Alara's lack of status. It was about the secret Seraphina had carried for over 2 decades, a secret that would destroy the royal family if it ever came to light. Alara wasn't merely a flower seller from the village. She was her daughter. Years ago, before she had married King Alden, Seraphina had fallen in love with a man from the neighboring kingdom of Narevia. Their love had been forbidden, and when Seraphina discovered she was with child, she was forced to leave the man behind and conceal her pregnancy to protect her position in Valoria. Alara had been born in secret and left in the care of a trusted midwife in the village. Seraphina had made regular payments to ensure the child's well-being, but had never seen her again, fearing what the revelation of her existence would do to her reign. But fate had brought Alara back into her life in the most unexpected and dangerous way. And now, her son Adrian had fallen in love with the very sister he didn't know he had. Seraphina's hands trembled as she poured herself a glass of wine. The weight of her lies threatened to crush her, but she steeled herself. The truth could never come out. She had to protect the kingdom and her family's reputation at all costs, even if it meant keeping Alara in prison forever. The following morning, Adrian decided to take action. With the help of a loyal servant, he slipped past the guards and made his way to the dungeons. He needed to see Alara to reassure her that he was working on a plan to free her. As he approached her cell, the dim torchlight revealed Alara sitting on the bench, her head resting against the cold stone wall. Despite her circumstances, she smiled softly when she saw him. "Adrian," she whispered, standing as he reached the iron bars. "I'm gonna get you out of here," he promised, his hands gripping the bars tightly. "I don't care what it takes. I'll defy the crown if I have to." Before Alara could respond, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridor. Adrian turned, expecting a guard, but instead found himself face to face with his mother. "Adrian," Queen Seraphina said sharply, her voice laced with both authority and desperation. "Step away from her. Now." "No," Adrian replied defiantly. "You can't keep us apart. You've gone too far, Mother." Seraphina's face twisted with anguish. She hesitated, then spoke words she never thought she'd have to say. "Adrian, you don't understand. This isn't about status or duty. This is about blood." Adrian frowned, confusion etched on his face. "What are you talking about?" Seraphina took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "Alara, she's your sister. You share the same mother, but not the same father. That's why she can't be with you." The words hit Adrian like a thunderclap. He staggered back, his mind struggling to process the revelation. No, that's impossible." "It's the truth," Seraphina said, tears brimming in her eyes. "Before I married your father, I had a daughter. Alara is that child. I thought she was lost to me forever, but fate brought her back into our lives." Adrian turned to Alara, who stood frozen in shock. "Alara, is this true?" Alara shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't know, Adrian. I swear I didn't know." The weight of the revelation threatened to crush them both. Adrian felt as though the ground had been ripped out from under him. The love he had fought so hard to protect was now forbidden in the most absolute sense. As the truth spread through the palace, chaos erupted. King Alden demanded answers from Seraphina, furious that she had hidden such a monumental secret. The court whispered of scandal, betrayal, and the fragility of the royal family's legacy. Adrian, heartbroken and lost, withdrew from the palace, unable to face the woman he loved or the truth of their connection. Alara, too, struggled to reconcile her identity and her place in a world that seemed determined to tear her apart. But even as the kingdom of Valoria teetered on the edge of scandal, one thing became clear. The lies that had bound them all together for so long were beginning to unravel, and the truth would change their lives and the kingdom forever. And that's where our story ends for now. Will Adrian and Alara find a way to navigate the devastating truth? What will become of Queen Seraphina and the secrets that could bring the entire kingdom to its knees? Part 2 of this epic tale is coming soon, and you won't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you'll be the first to know when the next chapter drops. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell, too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next part of this thrilling saga.